Yeah.
But you were, what were you doing in Vietnam again?
Just fucking around.
Yeah.
I was writing, you know, like I was traveling, I was writing. I just went on misadventures, and they were pretty good misadventures, to be honest. Like, I mean, the first thing I did was I got to Ho Chi Minh City, and I was like, wow, I'm traveling, I'm doing this thing, right? And I met all these backpackers, and I don't know why, in my head, I thought, I had a different idea of what travel was going to be than what it turned into. So what I've kind of noticed in the world is that there are these like backpacking trails, right?
Yeah.
There are these trails where people kind of like, they hop from one place to the next. And it's like, this is the backpacking trail. We all go from this town to this town to this town. We see the same people along the way. It's all geared for bloody tourists in a way, to a greater or lesser extent.
It's kind of like almost you see retired people, cruise ships, bus tours. It's kind of the 20-year-old
100% it is, yeah. And that's great, you know what I mean? Because I think it gives a lot of people just enough structure to explore a different part of the world with just enough freedom to have the freedom, right? But I didn't know that was going to be the case, and I at the time felt very disdainful about it, and I was like, I'm getting away from this. I'm going to go and like see Vietnam, you know, and so I got on this random bus to a random. I looked at a map and I was like, and when I think back, I think, what a fucking thing to do. I just pulled out a map because we had physical paper maps.
How long ago was this? 40 years.
This was 2011.
Okay.
2010.
Okay, cool.
So I pulled out a paper map. And I picked a town that looked big enough, and I was like, I took a bus there, and it was called Bến Tre in Vietnam, and it's in the Mekong Delta. It's just south of Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City, and I just got out and I was like, is there a hotel? And no one here spoke English, like no one. So like it was like crash course Vietnamese straight away, and then
no Duolingo back then either, right?
There was nothing, you know. So what I did was I found a library that had a Vietnamese to English dictionary. Okay. And I just started like, you know what I mean? And obviously the easy thing about Vietnamese is that they use the Roman alphabet, so that really helps. So anyway, so I'm in Bến Tre, and I just find this hotel, and I start staying there, and I start hanging out with the family that have a cafe next door, and they're like, who's this strange white guy? And I'm like, 20, 21 years old, you know what I mean? So it's not like the typical... and then through them I met someone who was like, so-and-so has a English school that he runs out of his backyard, like the local doctor ran an English school in his like backyard.
You might need an employee.
Yeah, do you want to take over? I was like, fuck yeah, I'll take over. He's like, look, I'll give you enough money to pay for the hotel here, and you can just stay at the hotel and come and teach. And I did that, and then there was when that was happening, then the local Buddhist temple found out that I was there, and they're like, hey, do you want to come do the same thing for us? I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And so they went and stayed at the temple.
Like the little boys English? Or?
No, like the local kids, like just like the local school kids, you know what I mean? But the temple like ran like an English program. Cool. And so I went and lived at the temple and ran the English school, and then I started hanging out with the monks, and then they were like, hey, you seem to be pretty interested in this Buddhism thing. Why don't you go and study at this other temple? It's our sister temple. And
did you tell them you've always started growing hair out?
Yeah, well, I almost shaved it. You know what I mean? No, honestly, I really liked the philosophy and the lifestyle that came with Buddhism. But in the end of the day, I didn't believe in any of the mythology. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't believe in reincarnation. I don't believe in the mythology attached to it. So I couldn't dedicate my life to this idea that I was like, this is a really nice philosophy. You know what I mean? I don't know if this makes up my whole worldview. Yeah. So, I dabbled and hung out at the temple for a while, and I, chatted with the monks and learnt what I could and meditated with them a lot, and then I got I was like, okay, well, this is cool, and I need that, and I kind of need like this bit of a shake up.
Just for context, is this a few weeks, a few months?
About 4 or 5 months.
Okay, and how much interaction are you having? Because the internet's maybe just starting to be a thing, but there's no Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah, no, there's like I had to go to the internet cafe every now and then. I go like maybe like once every second week or once a week. I'd go to the internet cafe and be like, hey, Mum, Dad, I'm alive.
MSN Messenger or something.
Yeah, well, I used to just email. I just used to send them an email.
Yeah, and there's no way people going, you're not
No, there's no white people at all.
Yeah.
Like, there's just me.
Did you ever have stories of like some backpackers lost and you're like, hey,
No, and didn't see any other white
that's
people.
mental. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just not there, you know. Maybe now, but at the time, Vietnam was different 15 years ago. It was a little bit more locked down,
So
you know.
like on the trail.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So and then I got a bike, like a push bike, and I rode it up the rest of the coast of Vietnam, just stopping along the way and checking things out. And I don't know, you know what I was really okay. This is the other thing when I was growing up, I had a reasonably cushy life. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I never struggled, or besides every person goes through various struggles, and you're a kid, so you're a fucking bag of hormones, and you're like, oh, I'm fighting with my friend, and that's the end of the world. So obviously we all go through those things.
Common middle class.
Yes, 100%. Yes, but I think that to some extent I was always seeking out some great level of challenge and discomfort to overcome. And I felt like I think I'd romanticized that idea in my life because I'd never experienced it. And I'd been reading all these stories about these great adventures and these things that people did and overcame, and the sense of satisfaction and
just
yeah.
glory.
Yeah. That goes along with that.
I always have that thing of British explorers usually. They go to some come here, go to some crazy place back in the day, the tribes and whatever,
Totally.
Polynesian princesses.
Totally.
And then I always had the image of coming back to London and being the pub and being that guy.
Yeah. When you went back to London.
For them though.
Yeah.
You can kind of parallel that onto your own life and be.
You'd be like, oh, I've got some stories.
Yeah. The old grandpa in the rocking chair in a place very similar looking to this place. Your grandkids don't even know.
Don't even fucking know. Yeah. No, legit. Like I was seeking some type of adventure, and I think in the core of that, I was looking for things that were hard and felt hard, and I was like, well, I'm gonna do the things that are hard. And
Vietnamese push bike.
Vietnamese fucking pushy. There's no gears in that thing. There's one gear.
And that's not a flat country.
It's not a flat country. Oh, I tell you what,
maybe.
the coast is pretty flat. But I did the coastal road, but there were some hills.